Good evening. Now, obviously, this Premier League season has been unpredictable. It's been topsy turvy for all teams, and so probably apart from Sheffield because they've been terrible all season. But that being said, another manager is under pressure, and that is Super Frank, who recently has been user Frank. Chelsea have lost out of their last five games, have lost three. That's not good. That's terrible. And recently they lost 3-1 to Man City. Now he's under pressure. Fans are asking whether he's the right man for the Chelsea job, and which should have been obviously a fair question because he isn't that much experienced. The only job he had before, he he managed Derby County in his championship, and he failed to get them up, get the promotion into the Premier League because they finished sixth that season. They made it into the playoffs. They got to the final but lost. So clearly there were question marks, understandably so, when Frank Lampard got the Chelsea job. But here's the thing. It will be unfair to kind of pull the trigger on Frank Lampard as the manager because at the time when Frank Lampard got the job, obviously Chelsea was going through a transfer ban, and there wasn't much expectations. So I guess last season they finished fourth, and which was seen as an overachievement because Chelsea wasn't expected to be in the top four due to lack of signings as a result of the transfer ban. So now, coming into this season, the transfer ban on Chelsea was lifted, and they made a lot of signings: Ziyech, Werner, Havertz, Mendy, Chilwell. They made a lot of millions of pound signings, and so now, as of right now, they're underperforming. They're eighth in the Premier League, 3 points ahead of Arsenal, who was struggling under Mikel Arteta. But now it seems like Chelsea are really in danger of just, well, Frank Lampard, to be specific, is in danger of getting the axe because expectations are set when you're at a big club like Chelsea, who've won league titles, and more importantly, they've in the last 10 years they've gone through about 10 managers. So clearly, Roman Abramovich, I suspect, is not going to care about Frank Lampard being arguably the best Chelsea player ever, arguably their biggest legend after John Terry, because Abra- Abramovich is going to want results. He's going to want instant progress with the signings that are coming in, and right now they're not showing it much. The saving grace for Frank Lampard right now is that the table is tight, is very tight. There isn't much separating first to 11th or 12th. So that's really just the saving grace. The fact that this season has been up and down. Teams have gotten one over on each other. That's literally the saving grace for Frank Lampard, and why he may stay at least until the end of the season. Because if it was a normal season where, okay, a certain gap between the top four and the rest of the league has been set, or the top six, and Lampard is in eighth, then he probably would have been sacked if it was any other normal season. But because this season has been so unpredictable and that it's so tight, I feel I personally think that he may stay in until the end of the season. But it wouldn't shock me if he was to get sacked soon, because Chelsea, they want results, They don't really care about how much of a legend you are as a player for their club. And if you're not producing the results, you are you're getting out of there. You are out. So honestly, um hmm, wow. There isn't much more to say other than Frank Lampard, from a personal point of view, he should be given a bit more time at Chelsea because it takes a while. It takes a while to kind of gel new players into the squad on the pitch. Werner has been shocking. Havertz hasn't been up to it so far, but in a sense, you would expect that playing in a new country, um, adapting to a new culture, you would expect that somewhat. You would expect that, and so listen, he may bounce. Chelsea may bounce back, get a few wins under their belt, and then all be fine for now, at least for the meantime. But right now, he's under pressure. Um, Super Frank right now is loser Frank due to the poor form that Chelsea have been in. I think Kante is pretty much, you know, past his peak, and he's going down that milestone of just not being that great player that he once was for Leicester. And then when he was a Chelsea player under Conte, I feel like he's past it, and he still can do a job, but he's just not the great player that he was at Leicester and his first year at Chelsea. He just isn't. I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, we're gonna see what happens in the next few weeks with Lampard and other managers. Their fortunes may change. You never know in the season because lots of things have been happening. Oli was under pressure. Then it was Mikel Arteta. Now Frank Lampard. But I will say there is a case to be said that Lampard is arguably a worse manager than Oli and Arteta because at least with Arteta, there's kind of like a style that he's trying to put forth and install into Arsenal side, even though he makes woeful decisions when it comes to player personnel. And Oli, now obviously Oli, he was in charge of Cardiff, he got relegated, but he at least has with the players that he has at Man U, the best players that he's ever had. He's got them playing for him, playing for the badge, and he's clearly galvanizing them to play for the badge and play for the club, which is why right now they're joint on top of the league. But with Lampard, it's just, I mean, the shocking choice of personnel. Playing Werner's just not hitting the strides at the moment, and also I don't understand it. I don't agree with this sentiment that because a certain player costs a certain amount of money that they should be starting in the team. If even though they've not been in good form. Whereas there's another player who's on the bench who's been better form than they have been, and in other words, Giroud should be starting. Tammy should be starting over Werner in the central striking position because Werner has not been up to it. Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud have both been in good form for Chelsea, but they were placed on the bench against Man City. Whereas Werner played on for the whole of 90 minutes and he was terrible. He was useless. Kicked the corner flag at one point. So this sentiment that because this player cost X amount of £1 million is rubbish. If they're not banging in the goals, if they're not doing their job on the pitch, they should be dropped. Period. Period. And so that's one thing that Frank Lampard can be blamed for. But listen, I'm sure a lot of Chelsea fans want him to do well because obviously he's their best ever player, arguably. But it's looking like that he'll just be another Sats manager if he doesn't perform, if he doesn't get the results. So, yeah, that's what I have to say. Take care. God bless.